The night is quiet. There is no hurry here, only a slow, gentle movement of time, like soft water slipping past smooth stones. And somewhere far away, beyond the noise of the present, beyond bright lights and restless thoughts, there is a place where the air is warm and the days move slowly. A place where the sun rises the same way it has for thousands of years. A place called Egypt. Not the busy world that exists today, but an older Egypt, a quieter one. An Egypt of long rivers, soft winds, and patient people. If you imagine it now, you might see a wide, endless sky, pale blue during the day and deep and dark at night, filled with calm stars that do not flicker too quickly. Below that sky, there is land, mostly dry and golden. Sand stretches out in every direction. It does not rush. It does not change quickly. It simply rests. But through this quiet land, there is something different. A long, slow river, the Nile. It moves gently, almost lazily, as if it has nowhere urgent to be. The water is soft in color, sometimes reflecting the sky, sometimes holding the color of earth. It has been flowing like this for longer than memory. And along its edges, life gathers. Not loudly, not suddenly, but slowly, carefully, as if it understands that time is wide and there is no need to hurry. The people who live here wake up early, not because they are rushed, but because the sun arrives quietly, spreading light across the land in a soft, golden way. There are no alarms, no sharp sounds, only the distant call of birds, the quiet movement of water, and the gentle stirring of wind across the sand. A man rises from a simple bed made of woven fibers. The air is still cool. For a moment, he does nothing. He simply breathes. He listens. This is how many mornings begin, slowly. He steps outside. The ground beneath his feet is firm but warm, holding the memory of yesterday's sun. Nearby, small homes sit close together, made from mud and straw, shaped by careful hands. They are not large. They are not decorated with anything unnecessary. They are enough. A woman is already awake, grinding grain between two stones. The sound is soft, steady, almost rhythmic, back and forth, back and forth. It does not rush. It does not need to. Children still sleep nearby, wrapped in simple cloth, their breathing slow and even. The smell of bread begins to form in the air. It is faint at first, then a little stronger. It mixes with the scent of the river, the earth, and the cool morning breeze. Everything blends together in a quiet harmony. Nothing stands out too sharply. Nothing interrupts the calm. The man walks toward the Nile. He has done this many times before, so many times that his steps no longer need thought. They move on their own, following a path that has been walked for generations. The river waits, as it always does. Its surface is smooth. Occasionally, a small ripple appears, then fades away. He kneels beside the water. He washes his hands slowly. The water is cool. It feels steady, reliable, like something that will always be there. And in many ways, it is. The Nile is not just a river, it is life. But even that thought does not come in a loud or dramatic way. It simply exists, quietly understood. As the sun rises higher, more people begin to move. A farmer walks to his field. The soil here is dark and soft, very different from the dry land beyond. It has been touched by the river, nourished by it. He carries simple tools, nothing complicated, nothing heavy. He does not rush. He knows the work will take time, and time here is something that stretches gently, like the river itself. He presses the tool into the soil, lifts it, presses again. Each movement is slow, steady, almost like breathing. Birds move through the sky. Some land near the water, some drift farther away. Their calls are soft, never too loud, never too sharp. A boat moves along the river. It glides more than it travels. The sail catches a small amount of wind, just enough to guide it forward. A man stands inside, holding a rope, adjusting it gently. He is not in a hurry to arrive anywhere. The journey itself is enough. Further along the river, tall plants sway slightly, papyrus. Their thin stems bend just a little as the wind passes through. They make a soft whispering sound. It is easy to miss, but once you notice it, it becomes part of everything, part of the background, part of the quiet. The sun continues to rise higher. The light becomes brighter. Shadows grow shorter. The air warms. But even now, there is no urgency, only a gentle continuation. Near the edge of the village, an older man sits alone. He watches the river. He has seen many mornings like this, more than he can count. But he does not seem bored, because each morning, though similar, is also slightly different. A different breeze, a different light, a different sound carried across the water. He notices these things, quietly, without needing to speak them. Time passes, but it does not feel like it is passing. It simply is. And the Nile continues to flow, slow, steady, unending. The day will go on, and with it, the quiet story of this land will continue to unfold, slowly, gently, just as it always has. And somewhere within that slow movement, something larger is beginning, something that will take shape over many years. But for now, there is no need to see it clearly. For now, it is enough to rest here, beside the river, in the soft warmth of the morning, where everything moves exactly as it should.
The morning continues, almost without anyone noticing when it truly becomes day. The light grows slowly, spreading across the land in a quiet and patient way, as if it has all the time in the world. The sky becomes a softer blue, no longer pale like the early dawn, but still gentle to the eyes. The air begins to warm, though it carries a faint coolness that has not yet fully disappeared. Along the Nile, the water keeps moving, just as it always does. It does not pause. It does not hurry. It simply continues. The surface reflects the growing light, turning from a dim gray blue into something brighter, but never too bright. Small ripples form where the current shifts, and then they fade again, leaving the surface smooth and quiet. A fisherman sits in a narrow wooden boat not far from the shore. He's been there for some time, long enough that his body has settled into stillness. His hands move slowly as he prepares his net, checking each part carefully, not because he fears mistakes, but because this is how things are done, slowly, thoughtfully, with attention that does not feel heavy. He casts the net into the water. The movement is soft. The net spreads, then sinks. He waits. There is no impatience in the waiting. The waiting is part of the work. The sound of water touching the sides of the boat is gentle, repeating in a quiet rhythm. Somewhere nearby, a bird dips toward the surface, then lifts again, disappearing into the open air. Nothing feels sudden. Nothing feels sharp. Back on land, the village has fully awakened, though it never becomes loud. Voices exist, but they are soft. People speak, but not quickly. There is a natural rhythm to everything, as if each person understands, without being told, that the day does not need to be rushed. A woman kneels near a clay oven, shaping dough with her hands. Her fingers move slowly, pressing and folding again. The dough is soft and warm. She places it carefully against the heated surface inside the oven. The smell of baking bread deepens, spreading further through the air, mixing with the scent of dry earth and river water. A child sits nearby, watching. He does not speak. He simply observes the movement of her hands, the way the dough changes shape, the way the heat slowly transforms it. These small moments pass quietly, but they are not empty. They are full in a different way. Further away in the fields, the farmer continues his work. The soil is dark beneath his feet, slightly damp from the river's reach. Each step presses lightly into the earth, leaving a faint mark that will soon disappear. He bends, lifts, presses, and smooths. The movements repeat again and again, without urgency. The sun rises higher. The warmth becomes more noticeable now. Not harsh, not overwhelming, but steady, like a hand resting gently on the land. In the distance, a group of workers continues to carry stone. They move together in quiet coordination, each person understanding their place without needing direction. The stones are heavy, but the movement remains slow, measured, careful. They place each stone down with attention, adjusting it slightly, making sure it rests exactly where it should. There is no rush to finish, no sense of needing to complete the task quickly, because the work itself is part of something larger, something that stretches beyond a single day, beyond a single lifetime. But even that thought does not feel heavy. It sits quietly in the background, like a distant shape that does not need to be fully seen. A breeze moves across the land. It carries fine grains of sand, lifting them gently before letting them settle again. It passes through the tall papyrus plants, causing them to sway just slightly, their thin stems bending and returning, bending and returning. The sound is soft, almost like a whisper. Near the water, the fisherman lifts his net. Water drips from it slowly. Some fish move within the mesh, their bodies glistening briefly in the sunlight before becoming still again. He does not react with excitement. He simply begins the quiet process of gathering them, one by one. Each movement is steady. Each action flows into the next. Time continues to pass, but it does not feel like something that is moving away. It feels like something that is gently unfolding. Back in the village, the bread is ready. The woman removes it from the oven, placing it on a flat surface to cool. The surface of the bread is slightly rough, warm to the touch, carrying a simple, familiar smell. She breaks a piece and hands it to the child. He takes it quietly, eats slowly. There is no rush. Even hunger moves at a calm pace here. A few men sit together in the shade of a simple structure made from wood and woven reeds. They speak in low voices. Their words are spaced apart, with pauses in between, as if silence itself is part of the conversation. They look out toward the river as they speak. Sometimes they stop speaking altogether, simply watching the water. This, too, is enough. The sun continues its slow climb. The light becomes stronger now. Shadows shift, stretching in different directions before slowly pulling closer to the feet of those who cast them. A dog lies down near the entrance of a home. Its body relaxes fully against the ground. Its breathing is slow. Its eyes close, then open slightly, then close again. There is no tension in its body, only rest. Further along the river, the boat has moved, not far, just enough that its position has changed slightly. The man inside adjusts the sail again, gently pulling the rope, guiding the direction without forcing it. The wind is light, but it is enough. It is always enough. The older man, still seated near the edge of the village, continues to watch. His gaze moves slowly, following the line of the river. He notices the way the light reflects differently now. He notices the subtle changes in the movement of the water. These details are small, but they are not unimportant. They are part of the quiet rhythm of the world around him. And in this place, the quiet rhythm is everything. Time stretches, moments pass, but nothing feels lost, nothing feels hurried. The day simply continues, slowly,
gently, without interruption. And as the sun rises higher into the sky, the warmth settles deeply into the earth, into the homes, into the bodies of the people moving through their day. There is still much to come, much that will unfold, but for now, everything remains as it is, calm, steady, unchanging in its quiet way. The Nile flows, the wind moves, the people continue their gentle work, and the world, in this moment, feels as though it could remain like this forever.
The sun has now climbed higher into the sky. It does not rush to reach its place. It simply rises, little by little, until the light becomes fuller, warmer, more present across the land. The coolness of the early morning has almost faded now. In its place, there is a gentle warmth that rests softly on everything it touches. The earth holds this warmth. The walls of the homes absorb it slowly. Even the hawa feels thicker, not heavy, but calm, settled. In the village, movement continues, but it has changed slightly. The slow beginning of the morning has become the steady middle of the day. People are no longer waking, they are already within their work. And yet nothing feels rushed, nothing feels hurried. The rhythm remains the same, a quiet, repeating flow. Near the river, the fisherman has finished gathering his catch. He sits for a moment longer in his boat, not because there is more to do, but because there is no need to leave immediately. The water touches the side of the boat in a soft, repeating motion, a gentle sound, almost like breathing. He looks down at the surface. For a moment he sees his reflection, but it shifts as the water moves, breaking into soft, unsteady shapes. Then it disappears again. He reaches for the paddle, dips it into the water, pulls slowly. The boat begins to move, not quickly, just enough. The shore draws closer in a calm, steady way. Back on land, the farmer pauses, not because the work is finished, but because the body naturally slows under the rising warmth. He stands still for a moment. The tool rests lightly in his hand. A small drop of sweat forms at his temple, then moves slowly down. There is no discomfort in it, only a quiet acknowledgement of the heat. He looks across the field. The soil is turned. The lines are forming. The work is progressing, slowly, just as it should. He walks toward the edge of the field where a small container of water waits. He lifts it, drinks. The water is warm now, touched by the sun, but still refreshing in its own quiet way. He does not drink quickly. Each movement is measured. Each moment stretches gently into the next. Nearby, insects move through the air. Their soft buzzing blends into the background. It does not interrupt. It becomes part of the stillness. A woman carries a clay jar on her shoulder. Her steps are steady, balanced. The jar does not shake. It rests in place as if it belongs there. She walks toward the river, following a path that has been used many times before. The ground beneath her feet is firm, worn smooth by repetition. When she reaches the water, she kneels slowly, carefully lowering the jar. The river receives it without resistance. Water flows inside with a soft, quiet sound. She lifts the jar again, now heavier, but still balanced, still steady. The movement is practiced, familiar. As she stands, a small breeze moves across the surface of the river. It carries a faint coolness. For a moment, the warmth softens, just slightly, then returns. Further away, the workers with the stones continue. Their pace has not changed, even as the day grows warmer. They lift, they carry, they place. Each action follows the last without interruption. The structure they are building rises slowly, so slowly that it might not seem to change at all in a single day. But it does, in small ways, almost unnoticeable. A stone added, a line extended,
a shape becoming clearer, but only if one looks very carefully. And no one here is in a hurry to see it finished, because the work itself is part of the day, part of the rhythm, part of the quiet continuation of time. A child walks along the edge of the village. His steps are slow, without direction. He is not going anywhere in particular. He simply moves. He pauses near a shaded wall, touches it lightly. The surface is warm. He traces the texture with his fingers, rough in some places, smooth in others. These small details hold his attention, not because they are important, but because there is time to notice them, time to feel them, time to exist within them. A bird lands nearby. It tilts its head slightly, watching. Then it hops once, then again. Its movement is quick, but not alarming, just part of the quiet activity of the day. The child watches it for a moment, then looks away. There is no need to follow, no need to react. Everything exists together without pulling too strongly at attention. The older man still sits near the edge of the village. The light has changed around him. The shadows have shifted, but he remains, still, calm. His breathing is slow, almost matching the movement of the river. He has seen many days like this, so many that they blend together, and yet each one carries something slightly different, a different breeze, a different pattern in the water, a different quiet. He does not try to hold on to these differences. He simply allows them to pass, as everything does. The sun now stands higher, closer to the center of the sky. The warmth is more complete. It rests fully on the earth now. There are fewer movements in the open. People begin to seek shade, not in a hurried way, but naturally, like water finding a lower place to settle. Under simple coverings made of cloth and wood, small groups gather. They sit, they rest. Some speak in low voices, some say nothing at all. A man leans back against a wall. His eyes close, not fully asleep, but close, resting. The sounds around him continue, soft footsteps, distant voices, the faint movement of wind, all blending into a steady, quiet background. Near the river, the water continues its slow journey. It does not change its pace. It does not respond to the heat. It simply moves, as it always has, as it always will. The fisherman steps onto the shore. He lifts his catch, carries it toward the village. Each step presses into the earth, then fades as he moves forward. Nothing remains for long, only the quiet memory of movement. Time continues, not in large steps, but in small, gentle shifts, the kind that are easy to miss, the kind that do not ask for attention. And within these small shifts, the day begins to lean just slightly toward the long, quiet stretch of the afternoon, where the light softens again, where the warmth settles deeper, where everything becomes even slower, even quieter, even more still. The day begins to lean into the afternoon. It does not happen suddenly. There is no clear moment when morning ends and afternoon begins. It is only a feeling, a soft shift in the air, a quiet change in the way the light rests on the ard. The sun now stands high, almost at its peak. Its light is steady and full. The warmth has settled deeply into everything, into the ground, into the walls of the homes, into the still hawa that moves only slightly now. The breeze that once passed gently through the village has grown softer, less frequent. When it comes, it feels like a quiet relief, a small movement that touches the skin and then disappears again. In the fields, the farmer has slowed, not stopped, but slowed. His movements are smaller now, more measured. The tool in his hand presses into the soil with the same steady rhythm, but there are longer pauses between each motion. He stands still for a moment, looking down at the Ard. The dark soil holds its shape. The lines he has made remain visible. They will not last forever, but for now they are enough. He breathes in slowly. The air is warm. It carries the faint scent of earth and distant water. He turns and walks toward the shade, not because he must, but because it feels right, because the day itself is guiding him there. Under a simple covering made of wood and woven reeds, he sits. The shade is not cold, but it is softer, gentler. The light here is quieter, filtered, resting lightly instead of pressing down. He places his tool beside him, closes his eyes, not to sleep fully, but to rest. And for a moment, everything becomes even slower, even quieter. Nearby, others have done the same. A few men sit in silence, their bodies relaxed, their breathing deep and steady. No one speaks. There is no need to fill the space with sound. The quiet itself is enough. A faint movement of hawa passes through. It touches the edges of the shade, lifting small strands of fiber and then letting them fall again. It moves across the Ard, carrying tiny grains of sand a short distance before they settle once more. Nothing travels far. Everything returns to stillness. In the village, activity has softened. The steady rhythm of the morning work has faded into a slower pattern. A woman sits near the entrance of her home. The clay walls behind her hold warmth, but also a quiet sense of shelter. She holds a piece of fabric in her hands. Her fingers move slowly, weaving, adjusting, pulling thread through thread. The motion is repetitive, gentle. There is no rush to finish. The work itself fills the time. A child lies nearby, resting on his side. His eyes drift open and closed, half awake, half asleep, listening to the quiet sounds around him, the soft movement of fabric, the distant sound of water, the faint call of a bird somewhere beyond the village. These sounds do not interrupt. They blend together into something calm, something steady. Near the river, the surface has changed slightly. The light now reflects more directly, brighter in some places, but still soft, still moving. The water continues its slow journey, unaffected by the stillness of the air. A small boat rests near the edge, tied loosely. It shifts just slightly with the movement of the current, back and forth, never far, never fast, just enough to remind that the river is always moving, even when everything else feels still. Further along the bank, tall papyrus plants stand quietly. Their thin green stems rise straight up, their tops spreading gently outward. When the faint breeze passes through, they sway just enough to create a soft, whispering sound. It comes and goes, like a breath, like a thought that appears and then fades away. The fisherman, now back on land, sits near his home. The fish he brought earlier have been set aside. There is no urgency in preparing them. That will come later. For now, he rests. His hands lie still. His shoulders relax. He watches the ground in front of him, not focusing on anything in particular, just allowing his gaze to settle. Time moves, but it feels wide, open, unmeasured. The sun remains high, holding its place in the sky. The heat is steady now, not increasing, not decreasing, simply present. And because of this, movement across the village has become even slower, even more quiet. Some people sleep, not deeply, just enough to rest the body. Others remain awake but still. Their thoughts move slowly, like the river, like the air, like everything in this place. The older man still sits near the edge of the village. He has not moved far, only slightly, adjusting his position as the shadow shifts. The shade no longer covers him completely, but he does not seem to mind. He watches the light move across the Ard, noticing how it changes the color of the sand, how it softens and brightens in different places. These changes are small, but they are constant, and in their quiet way they mark the passing of the day. A bird crosses the sky above. Its wings move slowly, steadily. It does not rush. It glides for a moment, then flaps gently, then glides again. Its shadow passes briefly over the Ard, then disappears. Nothing remains, only the memory of movement. A dog lifts its head, looks around, then lowers it again, returning to rest. The air feels thick now, not heavy, but full, filled with warmth, with stillness, with the quiet presence of the afternoon. And yet, even in this stillness, life continues, not loudly, not quickly, but gently, always gently. A woman rises slowly from where she sits. She lifts the clay jar beside her. It is still partly full. She walks toward the shade. Her steps are steady, measured. The jar rests easily against her shoulder. She sets it down, pours a small amount of water into a cup, hands it to the child. He drinks slowly. The water is warm now, but it carries the memory of the river, and that is enough. The light begins to change, just slightly, not yet softer, but beginning to shift. The shadows are no longer still. They move, almost without being noticed, stretching just a little longer than before. The afternoon is slowly beginning to move towards something else, but it does not hurry. It never hurries. Everything unfolds in its own time, in its own quiet way. And so the village remains, resting in the warmth, breathing in the stillness, moving only when needed, and even then moving slowly, gently, as if guided by something unseen. The Nile continues to flow, unchanged, steady, endless.
The afternoon has settled deeply over the land now. It feels still, not empty, but full in a quiet way. The kind of fullness that does not ask for attention. The kind that simply exists, gently, without effort. The sun has begun its slow descent, though it is still high enough that the warmth remains steady. But something has changed, very slightly, almost too soft to notice at first. The light is no longer as sharp. It has softened just a little. The al-Hawa carries a faint movement again, a slow return of the breeze. It moves across the earth in long, gentle passes, touching the surface of the sand, brushing against the walls of the homes, slipping quietly through the narrow spaces between them. It does not stay. It passes through, then fades, then returns again after some time. Near the shaded areas, people begin to stir, not suddenly, not all at once, but slowly, one by one. The man who had been resting against the wall opens his eyes. He does not sit up immediately. He simply looks ahead for a moment, letting the light settle in his vision, letting his body wake in its own time. Then, slowly, he shifts, lifting himself gently. There is no rush to stand, no urgency to return to work, only a quiet continuation of the day. In the fields, the farmer returns to his place. The soil is still warm beneath his feet. The lines he made earlier remain, though softened slightly by the heat. He picks up his tool again, holds it for a moment, then begins. Press, lift, step,
Press again. The rhythm returns, just as it was before, steady, unbroken. The body remembers. It does not need to think. Nearby, a small group of workers resumes their movement with the stones. Their pace remains slow, careful. The structure they are building has grown, though only slightly. A new layer is forming. The stones sit quietly atop one another, each one placed with intention, each one part of something that will take many, many days to become clear. But no one speaks of the end. No one looks too far ahead. The present moment is enough. The work of this hour is enough. And so they continue, without hurry, without pause. Near the river, the water reflects the shifting light. It is no longer as bright as before. It has taken on a softer tone, a deeper calm. The surface moves in slow patterns, each ripple forming and fading with quiet ease. A boy walks along the edge of the water. His steps are careful, but not tense. He looks down at the ground as he walks, noticing small things. A smooth stone, a faint mark left by an earlier step, a line where the water once reached and then pulled away. He pauses, bends slightly, picks up a small object, turns it in his hand, then sets it down again. There is no need to keep it. The moment of noticing was enough. A bird stands at the water's edge, still, watching. Then, without sound, it dips its beak into the water, lifts it again. A small drop falls back into the river, creating a tiny circle that expands, then disappears. Everything here moves in this way, quietly, without drawing attention. In the village, the woman who had been weaving continues her work. But now the light around her has changed. It falls at a softer angle, casting longer shadows across her hands. The threads catch the light differently, some parts brighter, some parts dim. Her fingers move just the same, steady, practiced, unhurried. A child nearby begins to move again, sitting up slowly, rubbing his eyes, looking around as if remembering where he is. The world has not changed much, and yet it feels slightly different, softer, quieter. He stands, walks a few steps, then stops, watching the light on the ground. It stretches longer now, reaching farther than before. He places his foot into the shadow, then steps out again. A small movement, but enough to hold his attention. The older man near the edge of the village shifts slightly. The shadow that once covered him has moved. Now the light touches part of his arm. He notices it, but does not move away. He simply remains, allowing the warmth to rest there. His gaze lifts slowly toward the horizon. The earth stretches out in quiet stillness. The distant sand seems almost untouched, unchanging, endless. The sky above begins to soften in color, not yet turning toward evening, but preparing, very gently. The blue becomes a little deeper, a little calmer. The sun lowers, though so slowly that it is difficult to see its movement. Only the shadows reveal it, growing longer, stretching across the earth like quiet lines that shift without sound. Near the river, a man unties the rope from a small boat. He steps inside, pushes gently against the shore. The boat moves outward. The water receives it without resistance. He lifts the sail. The breeze is light, but present, enough to guide him. The boat begins to drift, slowly. The shore moves away behind him, not quickly, just enough to feel the change. He does not look back. He simply faces forward, letting the movement carry him. The sound of water returns, soft, repetitive, calm. Further along, the papyrus plants sway again, their thin leaves brushing against one another with a faint whispering sound. It comes and goes, like everything else. The afternoon continues to shift, not in large ways, but in small changes that gather over time. The heat begins to ease, just slightly. The air feels a little lighter, a little more open. People begin to move a bit more, not faster, just more often. A woman walks across the village, carrying a small bundle. Her steps leave faint marks in the earth. They remain for a moment, then begin to fade. Nothing here stays for long, except the feeling of the place itself, the calm, the quiet, the steady passing of time. The farmer pauses again, looks toward the sky. The sun is lower now, still bright, but softer. He rests his tool against his shoulder, stands still for a moment, breathing slowly. There is no need to measure the day, no need to count the hours. The light itself tells the story, and the light is changing, slowly, gently, without interruption. The Nile continues to flow, always the same, always moving, carrying with it the quiet passage of everything around it.
The afternoon begins to fade in a way that is almost unnoticeable. There is no single moment when it changes, no clear line between what was and what is becoming. It is only a gentle shift, a slow softening, like a long breath being released. The sun lowers a little more, still present, still warm, but no longer pressing down with the same steady strength. The light stretches across the earth at a softer angle now. It reaches farther, touches more, and yet feels lighter, calmer, easier to rest within. The Hewa begins to move again, not constantly, but more often than before. Each passing breeze feels slightly cooler, carrying with it a quiet sense of change. It brushes against the skin, then moves on, leaving behind a faint feeling of ease. In the fields, the farmer continues his work, but now the rhythm has slowed again, not because of exhaustion, not because of effort, but because the day itself is slowing. His movements follow that rhythm without thought. Press, lift, step, pause. He stands still for a moment longer than before, looking out across the field. The lines he has made stretch quietly across the dark soil. They are not perfect, they are not meant to be. They simply exist as part of the day's work. He lowers his tool, not placing it down yet, just holding it loosely, allowing the moment to rest. Nearby, the workers with the stones have begun to slow as well. Their movements are still careful, still steady, but there are longer spaces between each action. A stone is lifted, carried, set down, and then a pause, a quiet breath, a moment of stillness. The structure they are building stands in silence, unfinished but not incomplete, because it is still becoming, and becoming does not need to hurry. The light touches the edges of the stones now, creating soft shadows that stretch longer than before. The shapes appear different in this light, more gentle, less sharp. Everything begins to lose its hardness, its edges softening as the day moves on. In the village, people begin to gather again, not in groups of purpose, but in small, quiet ways. A few sit together, others stand nearby. Some simply walk slowly through the open spaces, as if following no direction at all. A woman steps out from her home. She pauses at the entrance, looks toward the river. The light reflects off the water in a softer glow now, not bright, not sharp, but warm and calm. She begins to walk. Her steps are slow, measured. The earth beneath her feet feels different now, still warm,
but cooling slowly, releasing the heat it held throughout the day. A child follows at a distance, not closely, not far, just enough to remain within the same quiet space. He watches the ground as he walks. The shadows stretch longer now. His own shadow moves beside him, longer than his body. He lifts his foot, places it down, watching how the shadow follows. Then he pauses, standing still. The shadow stands still with him. Then both move again, simple, quiet, enough to fill the moment. Near the river, the water has taken on a deeper color. The light no longer sits directly on its surface. Instead, it glides across it, softly, like a thin layer that shifts with each small ripple. The current remains steady, unchanged. A man stands near the edge. He does not enter the water. He does not move quickly. He simply watches. His gaze follows the slow movement of the surface. The patterns form, then fade, then form again. Nothing remains, and yet everything continues. A bird crosses the sky above. Its wings move slowly. The air supports it gently. There is no struggle, no urgency. It glides for a moment, then flaps, then glides again. Its path is quiet, uninterrupted. As it passes, its shadow stretches across the earth, longer now, thinner, then disappears into the fading light. Back in the village, the woman who had been weaving begins to gather her work, not because it is finished, but because the light is changing. She folds the fabric carefully, places it beside her. Her hands move slowly, as they always have. There is no final motion, no clear end, just a gentle stopping, a pause that feels natural. Nearby, a small fire is prepared, not large, not bright, just enough. A few pieces of wood placed together, a spark, a small flame. It grows slowly, quietly. The light from the fire flickers softly, adding another layer to the changing colors of the evening. Warm tones begin to appear, subtle at first, then more present. They mix with the fading sunlight, blending into something calm and steady. The older man near the edge of the village remains seated, but now his gaze has shifted slightly. He looks toward the horizon. The sky there has begun to change, not dramatically, but gently. The blue is deeper now, and along the far edge there is the faintest hint of something warmer, something quieter, a beginning of evening. He does not react. He simply watches, as he has watched so many times before. The air continues to cool, very slowly, almost too slowly to notice, but it is there, a difference, a soft release from the warmth of the day. People begin to move more, not quickly, but with a quiet sense of transition. Some return to their homes, others remain outside, sitting, standing, watching the light fade. The farmer lifts his tool and finally places it down, not with a sense of completion, but with a sense of pause. The work will continue another day. There is no need to finish everything now. He looks across the field one last time. The lines stretch quietly into the distance. The light rests softly on them. Then he turns, walking back toward the village, each step slow, steady, the ground beneath him cooling with each passing moment. Near the river, the boat that drifted earlier is now farther away, a small shape against the wide water, moving slowly, almost blending into the surroundings. The sail catches what little breeze remains, guiding it quietly along. The day continues to fade, not ending, just changing, becoming something softer, something quieter, something even more still. The Nile flows on, unchanged, carrying the reflection of the sky as it shifts, slowly, from the warmth of day toward the calm of evening.
The evening begins without announcement. There is no sudden change, no clear moment where day becomes night, only a slow dimming of the light, a gentle softening of everything it touches. The sun lowers closer to the horizon. Its warmth begins to ease, not disappearing, but loosening, like a hand slowly opening. The outdoor stretches long across the earth now. Shadows grow thin and extended, reaching far beyond the objects that cast them. They move quietly, almost unnoticed, shifting as the sun continues its slow descent. The sky changes first. Very gently, the deep blue of the afternoon begins to soften. A faint warmth appears near the horizon. Not bright, not strong, just a quiet blending of colors that feels calm to look at. The air becomes easier to breathe, cooler but not cold. A soft balance begins to form. In the village, movement resumes again, but in a different way. Not the steady rhythm of work, not the stillness of rest, but something in between, a quiet gathering. People step outside their homes. Some carry small items, simple things, nothing heavy, nothing urgent. They move slowly, naturally, drawn toward the open spaces between the homes. A small fire burns near the center. Its light flickers gently, not strong enough to replace the sun, but enough to add warmth as the daylight begins to fade. A man sits beside it. He watches the flame, not closely, just enough to see its movement, the way it shifts, rises, then settles again. The sound of the fire is soft, a faint crackle. It blends into the evening air. A woman places a small pot near the fire. She adjusts it slightly, then sits back. There is no hurry in preparing the meal. It will be ready when it is ready. The process itself is slow, just like everything else. Nearby, children move quietly. Their energy has softened, their steps slower now. Some sit close to the ground, tracing shapes in the sand with their fingers. Simple lines, circles, patterns that will not last. The breeze passes gently over them, softening the edges, slowly erasing what was made. But the children do not mind. They continue, making, watching, letting go. Near the river, the water reflects the changing sky. The light is no longer bright. It has become warm and muted. The surface holds hints of gold and soft shadows that stretch across it. The current remains the same, steady, unchanging. A man stands at the edge, washing his hands again. The water is cooler now. It carries the feeling of the evening. He lets it run over his fingers slowly, watching the way it moves. Then he steps back, leaving the river as quietly as he came. Further along, the papyrus plants move again. The breeze is more present now, still gentle, but steady enough to create a soft, continuous whisper. The sound blends with the quiet voices of the village, the faint crackle of fire, the distant movement of water. Everything comes together in a calm, even rhythm. The farmer has returned home. He sits near the entrance. His body rests fully now. The work of the day has ended, but without any strong feeling of completion. It simply faded, just like the light. He watches the sky. The colors deepen slowly. The warmth near the horizon becomes richer, then softer again, then begins to fade.
There is no rush to leave the moment, no need to move forward. The present is enough. The older man near the edge of the village remains where he is, but now he is no longer in full light. The evening has reached him. Soft shadows rest around him. The sky before him continues to change. The light lowers, lowers, until it touches the horizon, then begins to slip behind it, slowly, so slowly that it feels like it could stop at any moment. But it does not stop. It continues, gently, until the sun is no longer fully visible. Only a soft glow remains. The earth begins to cool, the warmth of the day slowly lifting away, leaving behind a calm, balanced air. People gather a little closer to the fire now, not of need, but of quiet comfort. The light from the flame flickers across their faces. Soft shadows move gently along the walls of the homes. A woman stirs the pot slowly. The sound is soft, repetitive. The scent of food begins to rise into the air, warm, simple, familiar. It spreads slowly through the village, not strong, just enough to be noticed. A child leans against his mother, his eyes half closed, his breathing slow. The day has settled into him, the long rhythm of light and movement, now fading into rest. Near the river, the last light reflects faintly on the surface, then begins to disappear. The water darkens, not fully, but enough that its details soften. The edges blur. The movement becomes less visible, though it continues just the same, always the same. A bird crosses the sky one last time, its shape dark against the fading light. It moves steadily, then disappears into the distance. The first signs of night begin to appear. Not darkness, but the absence of light. A quiet dimming, a soft covering over everything. The sky deepens further. The warm colors fade, leaving behind a calm, steady blue that slowly moves towards something darker. The fire becomes more noticeable now, its glow stronger against the dim surroundings, but still gentle, still soft. Voices remain low. No one speaks loudly. No one interrupts the quiet. The evening holds everything together in a calm, steady stillness. The Nile continues to flow, now reflecting only faint traces of light, its surface darker, smoother, almost blending into the night. The breeze moves once more, cooler now, touching the earth, the homes, the people sitting quietly together. Then it passes, and the stillness returns. The day has not ended suddenly. It has simply faded, drifting gently into the quiet arrival of night, where everything slows even more, and the world begins to rest again.
Night does not arrive all at once. It comes slowly, in layers, as if the world is taking its time to fall into rest. The last glow of the sun has now fully disappeared beyond the horizon. What remains is a deepening sky, a wide, quiet darkness, not harsh, not heavy, but calm and vast. The color of the sky shifts from soft blue into something deeper. A dark indigo begins to spread across everything above. And then, slowly, the first stars appear. Not suddenly, one by one. Quiet points of light, emerging gently, as if they were always there and only now becoming visible. In the village, the fire continues to burn. It is now the center of warmth and light. Its glow is small compared to the vast night around it, but it feels steady, reliable. It flickers softly, casting slow-moving shadows on the ground and on the walls of nearby homes. The people sit closer now, not tightly, just naturally, drawn toward warmth. A man adjusts his position near the fire. He does not speak. He simply watches the flame rise and fall. Its movement is calm, almost rhythmic, like breathing. A woman beside him holds a clay bowl. She stirs its contents slowly. The motion is steady, repeating in small circles. The sound of the spoon against the bowl is faint, almost disappearing into the night air. Nearby, a child leans against an adult's shoulder. His eyes are closed now, not fully asleep, but close. His body rests easily, as if the day has finally settled completely into him. The sounds around him are soft, the fire, the wind, the distant movement of water, all blending together into a quiet background. Near the river, the darkness is deeper. The water is still moving, but it is harder to see now. Only faint reflections of firelight appear on its surface, breaking and reforming as the current flows. The Nile does not pause for night. It continues as always, slow, steady, unchanging. A man stands near the bank. He listens more than he looks. The sound of water is more present now than its image, a soft, continuous movement. He breathes slowly. The night air is cooler against his skin, not cold, just different, more open, more still. The papyrus plants along the edge move slightly in the breeze. Their sound is more noticeable now, a soft rustling, like paper brushing against paper. It rises and falls with the wind, then disappears, then returns again. In the distance, a few small lights appear. Not many, just scattered points from other fires, other homes, other small gatherings. They glow faintly across the landscape, like quiet stars on the earth itself. The village is no longer active, not in the way of the day. It has entered a slower state, a resting state. People sit. Some speak softly. Some remain silent. Some begin to lie down near the warmth of the fire. There is no schedule now, no tasks waiting, only the slow passing of night. The older man near the edge of the village remains where he has been for most of the day, but now everything around him is darker. The shadows are no longer long. They have merged into the night itself. He looks upward. The sky is full now. Stars spread across it in quiet patterns, not bright in a harsh way, but steady, calm, each one holding its place without movement. The air is still, almost entirely still. Only the faintest breeze passes through occasionally, just enough to be felt, then gone again. Time feels different now, less structured, less defined. It does not move forward loudly. It simply continues, softly, silently. In the village, the fire begins to settle slightly. The flames are lower now, still present, but calmer, more compact. The glow on the faces around it becomes softer. Shadows deepen, shapes blur gently into the night. A man adds a small piece of wood to the fire. It catches slowly, then brightens for a moment before returning to its steady glow. No one reacts strongly. It is a small natural action, part of the rhythm of the night. A woman lies back against a woven mat near the fire. Her eyes are closed. Her breathing is slow and even. She is not fully asleep yet, but very close. The world around her feels distant now, less immediate, more like a soft sound in the background of rest. Near the river, the water continues its endless movement, now almost invisible. Only the faintest shimmer reveals where it flows.
The current does not change for night. It does not slow, it does not rest. It simply continues, carrying the quiet reflection of the stars above. A bird moves somewhere in the darkness. Its wings are not seen, only the faint sound of movement through air, then silence again. The night deepens further. The sky becomes even darker. The stars feel more present now, not because they have changed, but because everything else has become still. The world is quieter, more open, more distant. The village fire remains the only steady light within reach. Its glow flickers gently, casting soft patterns that move across the ground in slow, repeating rhythms. Everything feels reduced now, simplified, stripped of movement. Only essential things remain: breathing, resting, watching, existing. The older man lowers his gaze from the sky. He does not stand, he does not move away. He simply sits within the night, allowing it to surround him. The air is cool. The ground beneath him still holds a little warmth from the day, slowly fading. Everything is in transition. Even stillness is moving in its own quiet way. The Nile flows on, dark, unseen, but always there, a constant presence beneath the sky, carrying the reflection of stars that do not move and water that never stops. And as the night settles deeper, the world becomes quieter still, until even sound feels distant, and everything rests in a calm that stretches endlessly in every direction.
The night has fully settled now. There is no trace of daylight left in the sky, only darkness and stars and the quiet space between them. The stars feel steady tonight, not moving, not changing, just existing in their places like soft, distant lights that have always been there and will remain long after everything else grows quiet. The air is cooler now, not sharp, not cold enough to disturb anything, just cool enough to make the warmth of the earth feel distant, almost remembered instead of present. In the village, the fire has grown smaller, not weaker in feeling, but lower in shape. The flames no longer rise high. They stay close to the wood, curling gently, moving in slow, soft patterns. The light they give is still enough to see faces nearby, but everything beyond that glow fades quickly into shadow. People are quieter now. Most voices have stopped completely. Only the occasional soft sound remains, a breath, a shift in position, the faint rustle of cloth against the ground. A man sits with his back slightly curved forward, his eyes half closed. He is not thinking clearly now. Thoughts have slowed, softened, becoming less distinct. They come and go like distant movement in water. Nearby, a woman rests on her side, her hand still loosely holding a piece of fabric she was working on earlier. But the work is no longer active. It has simply been set aside without ceremony, without ending, just resting, like everything else. A child is fully asleep now. His breathing is slow and steady, the kind of breathing that blends perfectly into silence. His face is relaxed, unaware of anything around him, completely still. Near the river, the night feels deeper. The water is almost invisible now. Only the faintest reflections appear when the firelight from the village reaches it. Otherwise, it is darkness moving through darkness. But it continues, always, the same steady flow beneath the quiet sky. A man walks slowly along the bank. His steps are careful but unhurried. He is not going anywhere important, only moving because movement still feels natural. The ground is cooler under his feet, damp in places near the edge, dry farther away.
He stops once, looks toward the water, listens. The sound is soft, continuous, like something breathing without pause. Then he continues walking. The papyrus plants stand still now. Their movement has almost stopped entirely. Only a faint shift appears when the wind passes through, and even that is rare. The night has taken most motion away, not by force, but by quiet agreement. In the distance, small clusters of light from other villages glow faintly. They are scattered across the land, each one small, each one steady, like the night has placed them gently into position. The sky above remains vast, endless. The stars are clearer now than at any other moment, because everything below them has become still. Even the silence feels deeper. The older man remains where he is. He has not moved in a long time. His body is still, his eyes open but calm. He is not waiting for anything, not expecting anything. He simply exists within the night, breathing slowly, evenly. The fire behind him has dimmed further. Only a small cluster of glowing embers remains, red-orange points that pulse gently with faint heat. They do not flicker much now, just a slow, steady glow, a reminder that the fire is still there, even if it is resting. The village has entered full stillness, not completely silent, but close, the kind of quiet where even small sounds feel distant, a leaf shifting, a faint movement of air, a soft settling of the earth as it cools. Everything becomes part of one continuous calm. Inside a home, a woman sleeps deeply now, her body fully relaxed, her breathing steady, the space around her dark and quiet. Only the faint outline of the room exists in the darkness. Everything else has softened into shadow. Outside, the Nile continues its movement, unseen but present, always present. It flows without interruption, carrying the reflection of stars that appear to rest on its surface, though they are never truly held. The water moves them gently, breaking them, reforming them, endlessly repeating, a quiet rhythm that does not change, a rhythm that does not end. The night grows deeper still. The air becomes even more still. Even the wind feels like it is resting somewhere far away. There is no urgency in anything, no direction, only presence, only quiet continuation. The world feels suspended in a calm that stretches in every direction, not empty, just still. And in this stillness, everything that was the day slowly dissolves into rest. The work, the movement, the sound, all of it softened, all of it released, all of it becoming part of the night. The stars remain above, constant, patient. The Nile remains below, flowing, endless. And between them, the village rests, quiet, breathing, sleeping. And so the deepest part of the night continues, where everything becomes slower still, and the world drifts closer to complete rest.
The night is now at its deepest point. There is no remaining memory of the day in the sky, only darkness, wide and complete, stretching endlessly in every direction. The stars remain, but even they feel quieter now. Not fewer, not dimmer, just more distant, more still, like they are watching without needing to be seen. The air has grown cooler again, not sharply, just enough to make stillness feel even more complete. It settles over the land like a soft layer that does not press down, but simply exists. In the village, the fire has almost fully settled into embers. The bright flames are gone now. What remains is a quiet glow buried in the wood.
small points of red light that breathe slowly in their own way, in and out, in and out, not moving like fire anymore, but like memory. A faint warmth still spreads from it, but it is no longer enough to shape the surroundings. The darkness has taken over most of the space, and it feels natural, no resistance, no change needed. The people around the fire are now asleep, some lying down fully, others leaning gently against walls or soft ground. Their bodies have given in to rest without effort. There is no tension left in them, only stillness, only breathing, only the quiet rhythm of sleep. A man's hand rests open beside him, his fingers slightly curled, relaxed. He does not move, not even slightly. A woman's shawl shifts once with the faint movement of air, then becomes still again. Even small motion feels rare now. Near the river, everything is darker than before. The water cannot be seen clearly at all. Only its presence is known through sound and through the faintest shifting of reflections when distant light touches it. But even that is minimal. The Nile continues its path without interruption, slow, steady, unchanging. A man who had been walking earlier now stands still near the bank. He has not moved for some time. His eyes are open but unfocused. He is not thinking clearly anymore. The night has softened his awareness into something simple, something quiet. He listens, only listens, to the water, to the air, to the faintest sounds that exist between silence. Then, after a long moment, he sits, slowly, carefully, without urgency, and remains there. The papyrus plants are almost completely still now. Their shapes blend into the darkness, becoming part of the land rather than separate from it. Only when the faintest breeze passes through do they move slightly and then stop again. Even the breeze feels rare now, like the world is conserving its motion, holding everything in place. In the distance, scattered lights from other villages are even dimmer now. Some have gone out entirely. Others remain as faint dots, barely visible, like small reminders that life continues beyond sight. Above everything, the sky is fully open. The stars feel endless, not changing position, not shifting, just present, like quiet witnesses to a world that has slowed to its most peaceful state. The older man at the edge of the village remains awake, but barely. His body is still, his breathing slow, his eyes half open, then resting, then open again without intention. He is not resisting sleep, he is simply in the space before it, where everything becomes soft and unimportant. Behind him, the fire is now only glowing embers. Almost no movement remains in it, just a faint, steady red pulse that fades and returns slowly. The ground around it is dark. The shadows have merged completely with the night. There is no separation anymore between object and darkness. Everything shares the same stillness. Inside the homes, the village sleeps fully now. Not scattered sleep, but deep sleep. The kind where sound no longer reaches, where thoughts no longer form clearly, where the body is fully at rest. Even dreams, if they exist, move gently without disturbance. The Nile continues, always. It does not pause for night. It does not change for silence. It flows beneath everything, carrying the reflection of a sky that never stops being calm. Time feels almost unmeasurable now. There is no sense of beginning or end, only continuation, only stillness, only the quiet presence of existence itself. The night reaches its deepest point, not darker than before, but fuller, more complete, as if everything has finally settled into its most natural state. The world is no longer moving toward anything, it is simply resting. And in this resting, everything becomes soft, slow, and almost weightless. The embers fade a little more, the wind becomes almost nothing, the stars remain unchanged, and the Nile continues its endless quiet journey through the dark. And so the night holds everything in its deepest calm, where the world is fully asleep and time itself feels like it has paused to breathe. The deepest part of the night begins to loosen its hold. Not suddenly, not in any way that can be clearly noticed. It is more like a feeling, a subtle easing in the air, a quiet suggestion that time is still moving, even if nothing else seems to. The darkness remains, but it no longer feels completely still in the same way. There is a faint change in its weight, a softness that was not there before. The stars are still present above the land, but now, if one were to sit long enough and watch without thought, there's a slight sense that the sky is beginning to prepare itself for something new. Not yet dawn, not yet light, only the idea of change resting quietly in the distance. In the village, everything remains asleep. No one stirs, no one speaks. The bodies of the sleeping people are still in the same positions as before, as if the night has carefully placed them and chosen not to disturb them. A man near the outer wall breathes slowly, his chest rising and falling in an unbroken rhythm. A woman inside a small home turns slightly in her sleep, then becomes still again, as if even movement in dreams requires effort at this hour. A child remains curled in a familiar shape, his body warm beneath a thin covering. The fire outside has changed again. The embers are still there, but their glow has weakened slightly. Not extinguished, just quieter, less red, more faint. The wood beneath them is no longer burning in any visible way. It is only holding warmth now, like a memory of heat that is slowly fading. The land around the fire is almost completely dark. Shapes are no longer clear, only impressions remain. Near the river, the air feels slightly different. Not warmer, not cooler, just changed in a way that is difficult to define. The Nile continues its steady flow. It does not hurry, it does not slow. It remains as it has always been, a constant presence beneath all hours of the night. A man still sits near the bank. He has not moved for a long time. His head tilts slightly downward now, as if rest is approaching him even while he remains awake. His eyes are open, but they no longer focus on anything specific. He is not watching the water anymore. He is simply near it. That is enough. Around him, the darkness is deep, but not heavy. It feels more open now, as if the night is gradually releasing its grip on the land. The papyrus plants stand still, their shapes barely distinguishable. Yet there is a faint suggestion of movement returning somewhere in the distance. A very light breeze, almost unnoticeable. It passes through the reeds once, and then disappears again. The sound it makes is not really sound at all, more like a whisper that dissolves before it is fully formed. In the distance, the scattered village lights are now fewer. Some have gone completely dark. Others remain as very soft points, barely visible against the sky. They feel far away now, not just in distance, but in presence, as if the world itself has grown larger and more quiet around them. Above, the stars remain unchanged, but the sky behind them feels slightly less empty than before. There is a hint of something beyond the darkness now, a faint depth that suggests the night is no longer at its peak. Time continues to move, but it does so without announcing itself. No sound marks it, no clear change defines it, only a gradual softening. Inside the village, the older man who had remained half awake earlier has now fully surrendered to sleep. His head rests lower, his breathing becomes even more steady. There is no longer any sign of wakefulness in him. The fire behind him remains as faint embers, now barely glowing at all. Only occasional flickers of red appear, and then fade again into darkness. The river continues to flow, but even its sound feels slightly softer now, not because it has changed, but because everything around it has grown quieter still. The night is no longer at its deepest point. It is beginning its slow return, not toward brightness yet, only toward transition, a slow, patient turning that no one notices directly, but everything feels. The land remains still. The people remain asleep. The sky remains dark. And yet, something is gently preparing to change. And so, the night continues its slow turning, where silence begins to soften, and the first quiet promise of dawn rests far beyond the horizon, not yet visible, but already present in feeling.
There is a change now in the sky. Very small, very quiet, almost impossible to notice unless everything else is perfectly still. The darkness is still present, but it is no longer absolute. It has begun to thin in places, like fabric stretched gently under unseen light. Not breaking, not fading quickly, just becoming slightly less heavy. The stars remain above, but their sharpness feels softer now. Not blurred, just distant in a different way, as if the sky is slowly creating more space between them and the world below. In the village, sleep continues without interruption. The people do not notice the change. They remain in their steady rest, held by the calm of the night that is still present around them. A man's breathing is slow and even, unchanged. A woman near the center of the village shifts her arm slightly, then becomes still again, her sleep uninterrupted. A child remains completely quiet, wrapped in the familiar warmth of his resting place. Everything is as it was, and yet something in the air has begun to move forward. The fire outside is now nearly gone. Only the faintest glow remains in a few scattered embers. They no longer pulse like before. They simply exist, dim and weak, as if holding on to the last memory of heat. Occasionally, one ember brightens for a brief moment, then fades again into darkness. There is no flame now, only quiet remnants. Near the river, the Nile continues its steady flow. It has not changed, it never changes, but the reflections upon it begin to shift slightly. Not clearly, not brightly, just enough to suggest that the sky above is no longer the same as it was hours ago. The water carries this change gently, without interruption. A man near the river remains seated. He has not moved for a long time, but now his posture is slightly different, more relaxed, more settled, as if sleep has come closer to him without fully taking him. He looks downward, not at anything in particular, just downward into the darkness near his hands. The papyrus plants along the riverbank remain still, but the faint breeze returns once more. It moves through them slowly, softly, and this time it lingers a little longer before fading away. The sound is still not really a sound. It is more like the memory of movement passing through quiet space. In the distance, the village lights are now extremely few. Only a couple remain visible, and even those are weak, like fading thoughts in a dream. The sky above them begins to change in a way that is not yet color, not yet light, but something between them.
a softness that spread slowly across the horizon, very far away, almost indistinguishable from the night itself, but it is there, the beginning of return, the beginning of morning. Inside the homes, nothing changes. The village continues to sleep deeply. Breathing remains steady, bodies remain still, dreams continue quietly without disturbance. Even sleep itself feels deeper now, as if resting alongside the world rather than inside it. The older man near the edge of the village is now fully asleep. His head has lowered slightly, his body is completely at rest. There is no movement left in him at all. Only the soft rhythm of breathing remains. The fire behind him is nearly gone. Only a faint, fading warmth remains in the ash and wood. The night has not disappeared. It is still here, but it is no longer at its deepest point. It is slowly loosening, not ending, only changing. The sky continues its slow transformation, so gradual it feels almost imagined, but the land beneath it responds in the smallest ways. The air feels slightly different, the darkness feels less dense, the silence feels more open. And far beyond the horizon, where nothing can yet be seen clearly, the first hint of dawn continues to gather quietly, waiting, not rushing, simply becoming. And so the world remains asleep beneath a sky that is no longer fully night, where the first gentle trace of morning begins to exist even before light is seen.
The first light does not arrive like a moment. It arrives like a feeling spreading slowly through the sky. Not bright, not clear, only present. A soft presence behind the darkness, as if the night is no longer fully alone. The horizon begins to change first, very far away, so far it almost feels like imagination. A faint grayness appears, blending into the edge of the world, not breaking the night, only touching it gently. The stars remain visible above, but their contrast against the sky begins to soften. They are still there, still steady, but now they feel slightly less sharp, as if the sky is slowly learning how to hold both darkness and light at the same time. In the village, nothing has yet changed in the people. They continue sleeping, deeply, evenly, the kind of sleep that does not respond to small shifts in the world. A man near the center of the village breathes slowly, his chest rising and falling without interruption. A woman near a doorway lies still, her face calm, untouched by any movement around her. A child remains curled, peaceful, completely absorbed in rest. The fire outside is now almost completely gone. Only ash and faint warmth remain. No flame, no glow that shapes anything. Just the quiet remains of something that once held light. The land around it is fully dark still, but the darkness itself feels less heavy now. It no longer feels like something pressing down, more like something resting alongside everything else. Near the river, the Nile continues its slow and endless flow. The water reflects the changing sky in the faintest way, not clearly, not strongly, only as a suggestion of transformation above. The river carries this subtle shift without effort, as it has always carried everything. A man sits at the riverbank, still, silent. He has not moved for a long time, but now there is a slight change in his posture. His shoulders are more relaxed, his head tilts slightly upward, as if sensing the shift in the air without fully understanding it. He does not speak, he does not rise, he simply remains where he is, between night and morning. The papyrus reeds begin to show faint outlines again, not fully visible, just suggested shapes emerging from the darkness. The breeze returns once more, softer than before. It moves through the reeds in a slow, continuous motion, long enough to be noticed, then it fades again. The sound of it is almost nothing, only a whisper of movement in a world still half asleep. In the distance, the remaining village lights have almost completely disappeared. Only one or two faint points remain, barely visible against the shifting sky. They feel distant now, not just physically, but temporally, as if they belong to the part of the night that is already passing away. The sky continues to change. More of the horizon is now touched by this quiet gray light. It does not spread quickly. It spreads patiently, like water filling a still space. The stars remain above, but they are no longer the only presence in the sky. The night is sharing its space now, slowly, carefully. Inside the village, sleep remains undisturbed. No one stirs, no one wakes. Even the smallest movements in sleep are rare now. Everything is held in deep rest, as if the world itself is still sleeping alongside them. The older man near the edge of the village remains fully asleep. His breathing is steady, his body completely relaxed. The fire behind him is now nothing but ash, cold and still. The warmth has almost fully left it, and yet the memory of it remains in the ground nearby, a faint suggestion of what once was. The sky continues to brighten, but only in the smallest way, not enough to define anything clearly, but enough to change how the world feels. The darkness is no longer total. The silence is no longer as deep. The night is not ending quickly. It is simply letting go, slowly, quietly, like something that trusts the morning will arrive without needing to be rushed. And so the world remains still, between night and day, between darkness and light, between sleep and waking. A quiet moment where everything exists, gently, at once. And so the first true hint of dawn settles over ancient Egypt, where the sky begins to soften into morning, and the world remains peacefully asleep beneath it.
The sky is no longer only dark. It is something in between. A soft mixture of fading night and emerging day, blended so gently that there is no clear line where one ends and the other begins. The horizon has grown lighter now, not bright, not glowing, just lighter, in a way that makes everything beneath it feel slightly more visible, even before it is truly seen. The stars are still there, but fewer seem to stand out. Some have already begun to fade into the changing sky, not disappearing suddenly, but slowly becoming less noticeable, as if stepping back without noise. In the village, sleep continues, but something in the atmosphere has shifted, not enough to disturb rest, only enough to exist alongside it. A man lying near a wall breathes deeply, his rhythm unchanged. A woman inside a home turns her head slightly toward the faint direction of morning light, though she does not wake. A child remains still, wrapped in warmth, unaware of anything outside the quiet of sleep. The village remains peaceful, still fully resting, still fully held by sleep. Outside, the fire is completely gone now. Only a small patch of cooled ash remains where it once burned. There is no glow anymore, no heat that rises into the air, only the quiet memory of fire settled into the ground. The earth around it feels slightly different now, cooler, more neutral, as if the night has finally finished releasing its warmth. Near the river, the Nile begins to reflect more of the sky, not clearly, but enough that the water now carries a soft gradient of gray and faint blue, blending with the last traces of night. It continues its steady flow, as always, without change in pace, without concern for the shift above it. A man remains seated at the riverbank. He is still, but no longer entirely passive. His posture is more upright now, as if the changing sky is slowly drawing him toward awareness. He does not speak.
He does not move further, but he is no longer in the deepest part of night either. He is between states, between sleep and waking. The papyrus reeds are now more visible. Their outlines are clearer against the lightening background. They sway slightly as a faint breeze moves through them. This breeze lasts longer than before, not strong, but consistent enough to be noticed as a presence rather than a passing moment. It moves across the water and through the plants, then fades into the open air. In the distance, the last remaining points of light in the village are gone now, extinguished. The village itself is still dark in many places, but not completely. Shapes begin to form, roofs, walls, paths, all slowly returning to visibility as the sky brightens. The change is gradual, almost hesitant. The sky continues its transformation, now more gray than black, and in some areas a faint, almost invisible suggestion of pale blue begins to appear. Not yet full daylight, only the idea of it. The kind of light that does not announce itself, it simply becomes present. Inside the homes, sleep begins to feel slightly lighter, not because anyone is waking, but because the world around them is shifting. A man's hand relaxes further in his sleep. A woman's breathing becomes a little more open, as if the body is adjusting to the new rhythm of morning. The child remains unchanged, still deeply asleep. The older man near the edge of the village is now completely motionless, still fully in sleep. There is no fire left behind him, only the quiet stillness of ash and ground. The village is beginning to reappear, slowly, in the soft growing light. Nothing is sudden, nothing is sharp. Everything returns gently, like memory becoming visible again. The sky continues to brighten in layers, first gray, then pale blue, then a faint warmth beginning to build far beyond the horizon. Not yet sunlight, only its approach. The Nile reflects this change more clearly now. Its surface carries soft, shifting tones of early morning light, moving continuously along with the water's flow. Still calm, still steady, still endless. And in this slow return of morning, everything remains quiet. The world is not yet awake, but it is no longer asleep in the same way. It is in transition, a peaceful, suspended moment where nothing needs to rush, and everything simply becomes.
The sky is no longer uncertain. It has settled now into a soft morning light, not bright yet, but steady. A pale, calm blue spreads slowly across the horizon, stretching upward without hurry. The last traces of night have almost completely faded, lingering only in the farthest corners of the sky, where darkness still remembers itself. The sun has not yet fully appeared, but its presence is everywhere. Not seen directly, only felt, in the way the air grows slightly warmer, in the way the land begins to separate itself from shadow, in the way silence becomes less deep but still remains. In the village, the first signs of waking begin. Not sudden, not loud, just small, natural shifts. A man near the center of the village opens his eyes slowly. He does not move immediately. He simply looks upward for a moment, adjusting to the soft morning light that filters into his resting place. Then he exhales quietly and remains still for a little longer. Nearby, a woman slowly sits up. Her movement is unhurried. Her hands rest in her lap for a moment as she becomes aware of the morning around her. She does not speak. She does not rush. She simply exists in the transition between sleep and waking. A child stirs gently, rolling slightly before settling again, still half held by sleep. The village is not fully awake, but it is no longer fully asleep. It is in between. The fire has been gone for some time now. Only ash remains,
now slightly more visible in the morning light. There is no warmth left in it, only the soft shape of where fire once existed. Around it, the ground is calm and undisturbed. Near the river, the Nile is now clearly visible. Its surface reflects the morning sky in gentle layers of pale blue and soft gold. The water continues its steady movement, unchanged in rhythm, but now illuminated in a way that reveals more of its surface. Small ripples move across it, slow and consistent, carrying reflections of light that shift with every passing moment. A man stands near the riverbank now. He had been sitting through the night, but now he is slowly rising. His movement is careful, as if his body is still remembering rest. He looks across the water without focus, not searching for anything, only acknowledging the return of day. Then he remains still. The papyrus reeds are now fully visible. They stand tall along the edges of the river, moving gently as the morning breeze passes through them. This breeze is more consistent now, not strong, just present. It moves through the land in a steady rhythm, brushing against plants, cloth, and water alike. In the distance, the village is clearer now. Roofs, walls, paths, and open spaces are all visible under the soft morning light. The shapes of the village feel familiar again, no longer hidden by darkness. Everything appears calm, quietly active, slowly returning to life. Inside the homes, more people begin to wake, not all at once, one by one. A man rubs his eyes and sits up. A woman adjusts her covering and looks toward the doorway. A child finally opens their eyes fully, blinking at the light, before settling into awareness. Still, no noise rises sharply. Even waking feels gentle here. The older man near the edge of the village finally stirs slightly. He does not stand yet, but his breathing changes, becoming more awake, more aware of the morning air. The ash beside him is now fully cold. The fire is completely gone in every sense. Above everything, the sky is now fully morning. Soft blue stretches endlessly overhead. The sun is still low, not yet harsh or bright, but beginning to warm the land with its presence. Light spreads evenly across the village, revealing details that were hidden during the night. Walls show texture, sand shows pattern, water shows movement. Everything becomes slightly more defined, but still calm. The Nile continues its flow, as always, steady, endless, reflecting the morning sky as it moves forward without pause. And in this full arrival of day, the village slowly begins its quiet routine again. Not rushed, not loud, just life continuing, as it always has, under the gentle light of a new morning. And so morning settles fully over ancient Egypt, where the night has ended completely, and the world begins another calm, quiet day beside the Nile.
The morning is now fully present. The sun has risen a little higher, though it still feels gentle in its light. It does not press down on the land, it simply rests above it. Warmth spreads slowly across the village, touching the walls of mud brick homes, the open paths, and the quiet edges of the fields. Nothing changes quickly. Everything adjusts in small, almost unnoticeable steps. In the village, people begin their day without noise. A man steps out from his home and pauses for a moment in the sunlight. He does not speak. He simply stands there, letting his eyes adjust, letting his body settle into the new rhythm of the day. Nearby, a woman begins to prepare simple tasks inside her home. Her movements are slow and practiced. She reaches for familiar objects, places them carefully, and continues without interruption. A child follows quietly behind an older family member, walking slowly across the packed earth path. There is no rush in their steps, only routine, only familiarity. Near the edge of the village, the older man who had remained asleep through the night is now fully awake. He sits for a moment before standing. His movements are careful, as if the night still lingers in his body. He looks toward the village briefly, then toward the river, and then he begins to walk. Not quickly, not toward anything urgent, just forward, into the day. The ash where the fire once burned is now fully visible under daylight. It is pale and still, completely cooled. The fire has become nothing more than a small, forgotten circle on the ground, marked only by its absence. The wind passes over it lightly, but nothing remains to move. Near the river, the Nile continues its steady flow. In the morning light, it looks clearer than before. Its surface reflects the sky in soft layers of blue and pale gold, shifting slowly as the water moves. Small ripples pass across it, continuous and calm. A man stands near the riverbank again, now fully awake. He looks down at the water for a long moment, not studying it, not thinking deeply about it, simply observing its movement as part of the morning. Then he bends slightly, touching the edge of the water with his hand. The surface breaks gently, then returns to stillness as the ripples spread outward. He withdraws his hand slowly and remains still. The papyrus reeds sway lightly in the morning breeze. Their movement is now more consistent than during the night. Not strong enough to shake them, only enough to keep them in soft motion, as if they are breathing with the air itself. Farther into the fields, the land begins to show more activity. People move slowly between small paths, carrying simple tools or bundles of materials. Their steps are even and unhurried. The work of the day begins quietly, without announcement. The earth itself feels calm under the morning sun. Not dry, not harsh, just steady, balanced between warmth and air. In the distance, the shapes of more structures become visible as the light strengthens. Small homes, storage spaces, and pathways between them all appear clearly now. Everything feels familiar again. Everything feels grounded. Inside the village, more people are now awake. Some are still sitting in silence, adjusting to the morning. Others have already begun small tasks. But no one is in a hurry. Time feels wide in the morning, as if there is enough of it for everything. The sky remains clear and soft. The sun continues to rise slowly, spreading light evenly across the land. No shadows are sharp yet. Everything is still gentle in shape and tone. The Nile flows on, unchanged, carrying the reflection of the sky across its surface without interruption. It remains the constant center of the land, as it always has been. And so the village begins its day, not with noise, not with rush, but with calm continuation. Life moving forward at the same quiet pace as the river beside it. And so the morning settles deeper into ancient Egypt, where the day has fully begun and everything continues softly under the steady light of the sun.
The sun has risen higher now, still not harsh, still not overwhelming, just steady light resting over everything. The village is fully awake, but it does not feel noisy. It feels occupied, softly filled with movement that never becomes rushed. The land warms gradually. The sand paths between homes grow brighter, their texture more visible under the sun. Small shadows form beside walls and objects, but they remain soft at the edges. Nothing is sharp in this light. Everything feels gently outlined. In the fields beyond the village, people begin their slow, familiar work. Some walk along narrow irrigation channels, checking the flow of water. Others stand in small groups, quietly discussing what needs to be done for the day. Their voices are low, blending into the air rather than standing out from it. The movement of farming is steady and repetitive. Water is guided through shallow paths in the earth. It moves slowly, spreading into the soil, darkening it in quiet patches. There is no urgency in this work, only patience, only routine. The Nile continues its constant presence nearby. It is always there, even when not directly in view. Its influence reaches the fields through channels and paths that have existed for a long time. The water itself remains calm in its flow, unchanging in pace. A man walks along one of these irrigation paths, watching the water as it moves. He does not stop for long. He simply adjusts small things as needed, redirecting a bit of flow here, clearing a small blockage there, then moving on. Each action is simple. Each action is familiar. Near the village, women gather in a shaded area working with grain. Their hands move in slow repetition, pouring, grinding, sorting. The sound of their work is steady but soft. It blends into the environment like a background rhythm rather than a separate event. Occasionally, one of them pauses, not from fatigue, just a natural pause in the flow of work. Then they continue again. Children move nearby, sometimes helping, sometimes simply observing. They walk between adults without disruption, learning through presence rather than instruction. The older man from earlier in the village now walks slowly along a path near the homes. He does not appear hurried. His steps are even. He looks around occasionally, but without searching for anything specific. The village around him continues its calm activity. People greet each other with small gestures rather than long conversation, a nod, a brief exchange, then continuation of work. The sun continues to rise slightly higher. Light becomes more consistent across the land. The colors of the environment become clearer. The sandy earth appears warmer in tone. The plants near the edges of paths show more detail in their leaves. Even the river in the distance reflects a brighter version of the sky now. The Nile remains steady, always steady. Its surface shifts gently with the wind, but its direction never changes. It carries reflections of light and sky without holding them. In the temple area near the village, a small group of priests begins their quiet morning routines. They move slowly through their space, tending to simple rituals, cleaning, arranging, observing. Everything is done with care, not for speed, not for attention, but for continuity. Their presence adds a deeper stillness to the morning, as if even the act of ritual belongs naturally within the rhythm of the day. Time continues forward, but it does not feel like it is rushing. It feels like it is unfolding. The village exists within it without resistance. Everything has its place. Everything has its pace. And the day continues in this balanced stillness. Work, water, light, breath, all moving together in a quiet, uninterrupted flow. And so the midday calm settles over ancient Egypt, where life continues gently along the Nile, steady,
familiar, and endlessly slow.
The sun now rests high in the sky, not harsh in a sudden way, but steady, consistent. Its light spreads evenly across the land, filling every open space, every path, every quiet corner of the village. The morning has fully passed, though there is no clear moment where it ended. It simply softened into midday. The air grows warmer now, not uncomfortable, just heavier. Still, it carries less movement than before, as if even the wind prefers to slow down under the height of the sun. In the village, activity continues, but at a reduced pace. Work does not stop. It simply becomes more measured, more deliberate. A man walking through the fields now moves more slowly than he did in the morning. His steps are steady, but lighter in energy. He pauses more often, not from fatigue alone, but from the natural rhythm of midday stillness. The fields themselves appear quieter under the stronger light. The soil is dry on the surface, but holds moisture beneath from earlier irrigation. Small patches of green plants stand in organized rows, gently shifting when the faint breeze passes through. Everything feels stable. Everything feels settled. Near the irrigation channels, water still moves through the carved paths in the earth, but even the water seems calmer now. Its surface reflects the bright sky in a softer way, less contrast between light and shadow. It continues its flow without interruption, as it always does. A man crouches near one of the channels, adjusting the direction of water with a small tool. His movements are unhurried. He completes each action fully before moving to the next. Then he sits back for a moment in silence, watching the water continue on its path. In the village center, the marketplace area begins to show more presence. Not crowded, not loud, just active in a quiet way. Simple goods are arranged on flat surfaces: grain, pottery, cloth, items placed carefully, not rushed into position. People walk slowly between these spaces. They look, they pause, they continue walking. Sometimes they exchange a few words, but even conversation feels soft in this heat. Nothing rises above the calm atmosphere of the day. Under shaded areas, some people sit to rest. They do not speak much. They simply sit together, sharing space more than dialogue. The shade feels slightly cooler than the sunlit ground, offering a small relief from the midday warmth. Children move less now than in the morning. They sit near adults or walk slowly between small tasks, their energy softened by the heat. Even their play, when it appears, is quiet and unhurried. The Nile continues its steady presence beyond the village. The river does not change with the heat. It moves as it always has, slow, wide, and continuous. Its surface reflects the sky in a brighter, more intense tone now, but the movement beneath remains calm. Near the temple area, priests continue their quiet routines. The rituals are steady and controlled. Movements of hands, placement of objects, moments of still observation. Everything is done with intention, but without urgency. The temple space feels slightly cooler than the outside air, offering a contrast that makes the stillness more noticeable. The older man from earlier now sits in a shaded area near a wall. He does not sleep. He does not work. He simply rests in place, observing the slow movement of the village around him. His breathing is calm, his posture relaxed. Time passes around him without pressure. The sun continues its path overhead, not changing quickly, not shifting suddenly, just moving steadily toward the later part of the day. Shadows shorten and then begin to slowly shift again,
almost imperceptibly. The entire landscape holds a kind of midday silence even while life continues. It is not empty, it is simply quiet in motion, and everything feels held within the same slow rhythm. The fields, the river, the village, all moving together in a steady, unbroken calm. And so the midday heat settles fully over ancient Egypt, where life continues in soft rhythm beneath the high sun, and everything slows into the quiet wait of afternoon approaching.
The sun has begun to move downward, not quickly, not noticeably at first, but in a way that slowly changes everything without drawing attention to itself. The light across the land softens. It is still bright, but less sharp than before. The strongest heat of the day has passed, leaving behind a calmer warmth that rests over the village like a steady blanket. Shadows begin to stretch again, very slowly at first. They return to the edges of buildings, under trees, along narrow paths between homes. Everything that had been shortened by the high sun now begins to lengthen again. In the village, movement continues, but it is quieter than before. The urgency of earlier hours has faded. People walk more slowly now. Tasks are still completed, but with longer pauses between each action. A man in the fields finishes guiding water through an irrigation channel and simply stands for a moment afterward, watching it settle. The water spreads gently through the soil, darkening it in uneven but natural patterns. Then he turns and walks without haste to another part of the field. Nearby, women gathering grain begin to reduce their pace. Their hands still move, but less frequently. Occasional conversation drifts between them, soft and unstructured, blending into the afternoon air. Children who had been moving earlier now sit in small shaded areas. Some rest quietly. Some watch the adults working. Some simply sit without doing anything in particular, letting the afternoon pass over them. The marketplace area is still active, but more slowly now. Fewer people walk through it at once. The movement between stalls is spaced out, almost rhythmic in its calmness. A piece of cloth is unfolded. A container is examined. A quiet exchange takes place. Then stillness again for a moment before the next interaction. Nothing feels rushed. Everything feels extended in time. The Nile continues its constant flow beside the village. The river reflects more of the golden tone of the afternoon sun now, blending light and water into a smooth, continuous surface. Small ripples pass across it, but they do not disturb its calm appearance. It remains steady, unchanging in its direction. A man sits near the riverbank again, in nearly the same place as earlier in the day. He watches the water without focusing on anything specific. His posture is relaxed, leaning slightly back against the ground. He is not working. He is not resting fully. He is simply present. The papyrus reeds along the Nile sway gently as the afternoon breeze returns. This breeze is slightly warmer than before, but still soft. It moves through the plants, across the water, and into the open spaces of the village, then fades again without sound. In the distance, the temple area remains calm. The priests continue their quiet routines, though the pace of activity there also begins to slow as the day moves forward. Objects are carefully set aside. Spaces are tidied in a slow, deliberate manner. There is no sense of ending yet, only continuation toward another phase of the day. The older man from the village is now walking again, but very slowly. He moves along a familiar path between homes and shaded areas. He does not appear to be going anywhere specific. He simply walks because walking fits the rhythm of this time of day. The sun continues its downward movement. The sky remains clear and steady, but its brightness is less intense than before. The light has shifted into a warmer tone, touching the land in softer angles. Everything feels slightly golden, more settled. Even sound feels more distant now. The village is not silent, but it is quiet in a different way than the morning or midday, a slower quiet, a heavier quiet, one that belongs to the approaching evening. The Nile continues to flow. The fields continue to rest between tasks. The village continues its slow rhythm of life, and the day continues to move forward without resistance. And so the afternoon settles over ancient Egypt, where the light begins to soften, and the world slowly prepares for the calm approach of evening beside the Nile.
The sun is lower now, not yet touching the horizon, but close enough that the entire world begins to feel different in its light. The brightness is no longer overhead. It is angled. It stretches across the land in long, gentle lines, touching walls, sand, water, and plants with a warmer, quieter glow. Everything begins to feel softer again. The sharpness of midday is gone. Even colors seem calmer. The village slowly shifts into the rhythm of late afternoon. Work begins to end in small stages rather than all at once. A man in the fields finishes his last task and stands still for a moment, looking over the land he has been working. He does not rush to leave. He simply observes. Then he turns and walks back toward the village at an unhurried pace. Nearby, irrigation channels continue to carry water, but fewer hands now guide them. The system remains in place on its own for a while, as if the land itself knows how to continue even without constant attention. In the village, the marketplace is quieter now. Some stalls are already being gently closed. Items are gathered slowly, placed into containers, covered with cloth. Not packed away in haste, just settled. People speak less now. Their conversations are shorter, softer, more spaced out. A final exchange here and there, then movement away from the center. Children begin to return toward their homes or sit near adults who are preparing to leave. Even their presence feels calmer now, as if the entire village is easing into a shared slowing of energy. The Nile reflects the changing sky more deeply now. The water carries the color of late afternoon, warm gold blending into soft blue near the edges of reflection. It moves steadily, unchanged in rhythm, but now illuminated by a gentler light. A man sits along the riverbank again, in the same place as earlier. He watches the water as the angle of sunlight shifts across its surface. He does not speak. He does not move much. Only his gaze follows the slow transformation of light on water. The papyrus reeds sway again in a light breeze. This breeze is cooler now than earlier in the day. It moves across the river and into the village, passing through open spaces and shaded areas, gently signaling the approaching evening. In the distance, the temple area begins to grow quieter now. The priests complete their final tasks of the day with careful movements. Objects are placed in order. Spaces are left in calm stillness. There is a sense of completion, but not finality, only pause. The older man from the village now sits again near a shaded wall. He leans slightly back, resting in place. His eyes are half open, watching the slow movement of people returning from work.
He does not join them. He simply remains where he is, as if the passing of the day is something to observe rather than participate in. The sun continues its descent. The sky becomes richer in tone. Warm gold spreads across the horizon, deepening gradually. Shadows lengthen more clearly now, stretching across paths, fields, and the edges of homes. Everything becomes more defined in contrast, but softer in feeling. The village begins to enter the quiet transition between day and evening. People return to their homes slowly, not all at once, in small groups, in quiet steps. The sound of the day begins to fade into background stillness. The Nile continues its steady presence, reflecting the sky as it changes, always flowing, always calm, always present, and the world begins to prepare for the final light of the day, not suddenly, not dramatically, but gently, as it has done through every hour before it. And so the evening approaches ancient Egypt, where the sun lowers toward the horizon, and the village slowly returns to stillness beside the eternal river.
The sun is now very close to the horizon. Its light is no longer high or wide. It is low, stretched, and calm. It spreads across the land in long golden lines, touching everything with a warm, softened glow that feels almost like memory rather than brightness. The entire village begins to feel slower again, not because anything forces it to slow down, but because the day itself is gently releasing its energy. In the fields, the last remaining workers finish their tasks. They move carefully, unhurried, as if each action is the final step of a long, quiet cycle. A man gathers his tools and rests them over his shoulder. He looks across the field one last time, not with urgency, but with calm acknowledgement. Then he turns and walks toward the village. Each step is steady and even, no longer work-focused, only return-focused. Near the irrigation channels, water still flows, though fewer people are now near it. The channels continue on their own for a while, guided by the shape of the earth and the slow movement of the Nile beyond. The land begins to feel more open as human movement decreases. Less activity, more space, more quiet. In the village, homes begin to glow softly as cooking fires are lit again. Not large fires, small, controlled ones. They produce gentle light and faint warmth. The smoke rises slowly into the evening air, thin and steady, disappearing into the fading gold of the sky. People move around these fires with calm familiarity, preparing simple evening meals, pouring water, arranging food, speaking in low voices. The sounds are minimal. Even fire crackling feels softer at this hour, as if it has learned to speak more quietly. The marketplace is now nearly empty. Only a few people remain, finishing final exchanges or collecting belongings. Soon, even these small movements fade, and the space becomes still again. The Nile reflects the full presence of sunset now. The water glows with deep gold and soft orange tones, blending with the darker blue forming above. It is not bright in a sharp way. It is warm, continuous, endless. A man sits once more at the riverbank. He does not move from this place much throughout the day. Now, in the evening light, he watches the water become more reflective, more calm. His posture is relaxed, his breathing slow. He does not speak. He simply remains part of the landscape. The papyrus reeds sway gently in the evening breeze. This breeze is cooler now.
It carries the feeling of the day coming to rest. It moves across the river, through the village edges and into open fields before fading again. In the distance, the temple area becomes quiet once more. The final small rituals of the day are completed. Objects are carefully placed away. Spaces are left undisturbed. The priests move with slow precision, their work concluding without announcement. The older man from the village now walks slowly back toward his home. The light around him is golden, stretching long shadows across the path. He does not hurry. He does not look around much. He simply walks, as if the entire day has gently guided him to this moment of return. The sun now touches the horizon, not suddenly, not dramatically, just slowly, as if it has always been heading there. The sky becomes deeper in color. Gold fades into orange, orange fades into soft red, and above it all, the first hints of evening blue begin to appear again. The village grows quieter. People settle inside their homes. Cooking fires continue to glow softly, but no new movement begins. Everything is becoming still again, not asleep yet, but close to rest. The Nile continues its eternal movement beside the land, reflecting the final light of the day as it slowly changes into evening, and the world prepares once again for night. And so the sun begins to set over ancient Egypt, where the day gently closes and the village returns to calm warmth and fading light beside the river.
The sun has now disappeared below the horizon. Not suddenly, not in a clear ending, but in a slow fading, as if it simply slipped behind the edge of the world and chose to rest there. The sky remains bright for a few moments afterward. A soft afterglow spreads across the horizon, holding on to the last warmth of the day. Gold becomes pale orange, orange becomes soft pink, and slowly these colors begin to fade into deeper blue. The village is now quieter now, not empty, just still. People remain inside their homes, gathered around small evening fires. The light inside each home is gentle and contained. It does not reach far. It stays close to the people it warms. A man sits near the fire inside his home, holding a simple bowl. He eats slowly, without distraction. No conversation rises above a soft level. Only the sound of quiet presence. Nearby, a woman arranges a few items for the next morning. Her movements are careful and unhurried, as if preparing for tomorrow is simply another calm part of today. A child leans against a wall, eyes growing heavy. Not yet asleep, but close to it. Outside, the village paths are now mostly empty. Only occasional movement passes between homes, and even that fades quickly into stillness. The air grows cooler, not cold, just softer in temperature. It carries the feeling of the day fully releasing its warmth. The Nile continues its steady presence in the darkness that is slowly returning. Even in fading light, the river remains visible in soft reflections of the sky. Now it carries deeper tones, dark blue mixing with the last traces of evening color. Its surface moves without change, without interruption. A man still sits by the riverbank. He has remained there through much of the day. Now, as night returns, he is almost motionless. His silhouette is faint against the darkening water. He does not stand. He does not leave. He simply remains, as if he belongs equally to both day and night. The papyrus reeds are now harder to see, but their movement is still present. They shift gently in the evening breeze, which has become cooler and more consistent.
The sound is faint, almost imagined, but steady enough to be felt. In the distance, the temple area is now fully quiet. No more rituals, no more movement, only still space, resting until the next morning. The sky continues to darken. Blue deepens into indigo. The last traces of color near the horizon fade slowly, like ink spreading across water. The first stars begin to reappear. Not many yet, just a few, small, steady points of light returning to their places in the sky. Inside the village, fires are now the main source of light again. Small, warm, steady flames. They flicker gently, casting soft shadows on nearby walls. People sit near them in quiet groups or alone. No one speaks much. The energy of the day has fully softened into evening calm. The older man from the village is now inside his home. He sits near a low fire, his posture relaxed. He does not speak. He does not move much. He simply watches the small flame as it burns steadily. The child nearby is now fully asleep. The woman leans back slightly, resting after the long day. Outside, darkness continues to spread, but it is not heavy. It is familiar, comfortable. The Nile flows on beside everything, reflecting now the darkening sky and the first scattered stars above. The world returns to its nighttime rhythm, slowly, gently, without resistance, and the village settles into rest once more. And so night returns to ancient Egypt, where the day has fully ended, and everything becomes quiet again beneath the growing stars.
The night has settled in completely now. There is no remaining color in the sky near the horizon. Only deep, steady darkness spreading evenly above the land. The stars are back in full presence, not moving, not changing, just quietly existing in their familiar places, as if they have always been there and always will be. The village is still, not silent in a strict sense, but deeply calm. A kind of calm where even the smallest sound feels far away. Inside the homes, the fires have grown smaller, not gone, just reduced to steady, controlled warmth. A few glowing embers remain in each hearth, enough to give soft light without taking attention. People are now mostly lying down or sitting in relaxed stillness. Sleep has begun to return. Not suddenly, but gently. A man shifts slightly, then becomes still again as his breathing slows. A woman closes her eyes fully, her body easing into rest without effort. A child is already deeply asleep, completely unaware of the world outside. The transition into night rest happens quietly, as it always does. No moment marks it clearly. It simply happens. Outside, the paths of the village are now empty. Only faint outlines of homes remain visible under starlight. Shadows stretch across the ground in soft, irregular shapes. Nothing moves quickly. Everything feels settled into place. The Nile continues its steady flow beside the village. It is darker now, reflecting only small fragments of starlight on its surface. The water moves slowly, continuously, without interruption. It does not change with the hour. It simply continues. A man remains near the riverbank once again. He has been there through many parts of the day, and now into night. He sits quietly, almost blending into the darkness around him. His posture is still, his presence calm. He does not speak, he does not move. He simply exists beside the water, as if the river and the night are both equally familiar to him.
The papyrus reeds are barely visible now. Only faint outlines can be seen when the wind passes through them. The breeze is light, steady, carrying the coolness of deep night across the river and into the fields beyond. It passes through the village softly, then fades. In the distance, no lights remain except the soft glow of a few final embers inside homes. Even those are fading slowly. The temple area is completely dark now, resting in silence until morning returns. The sky remains full of stars, clear, endless, still. The sense of time feels even slower now than before, as if the world has entered a deeper layer of rest. Inside the village, sleep spreads more fully now, not just individual rest, but a shared stillness across the entire place. Breathing becomes slow and steady everywhere. Movement nearly disappears. Only the soft rhythm of sleep remains. The older man from earlier is now fully asleep again, his body relaxed, his breathing even. The fire beside him is now only embers, barely glowing. The village has returned to its nighttime cycle completely. The Nile continues its quiet journey. The stars remain unchanged above, and the night holds everything in its calm, familiar stillness. And so ancient Egypt rests once more beneath the endless night sky, where the river flows gently through darkness, and the world sleeps in peaceful silence.
The night is now at its deepest stage. Even the feeling of time seems thinner here, as if the world is holding still for a longer breath than usual. The stars remain above, unchanged and steady. They do not appear brighter or dimmer. They simply exist, calmly filling the sky in a quiet pattern that never feels new or old. Below them, the village is almost completely still. No new movement begins. No new sounds rise. Only the faintest signs of life remain inside the sleeping homes. A slow shift of a body in sleep, a soft breath in and out, then stillness again. The embers in the hearths are now barely glowing, small, fading points of warmth that do not try to spread light anymore. They simply remain where they are, quietly holding on to the last memory of fire. Outside, the paths between homes are empty. The ground is dark, but not heavy. It feels soft under the night sky, shaped gently by the hours that passed over it earlier. The wind moves again, but very lightly. It travels without direction, touching the tops of walls, the edges of doorways, and the edges of reeds near the river. Then it fades again, as if it never intended to stay. The Nile continues its presence beside everything. It does not change its rhythm for the night. It does not become faster or slower. It simply flows as it always has. In darkness, its surface is quieter, reflecting only small scattered stars and faint shadows of the sky above. A man remains by the riverbank, still there, still sitting, still unmoving. He has become part of the night itself now, as if his presence belongs to the same quiet rhythm as the water. His outline is faint, blending with the darkness around him. He does not look around. He does not shift. Only the slow rise and fall of his breathing reminds that he is there at all. Farther away, the fields are completely still. No workers, no movement.
Only the memory of earlier activity remains in the shape of the land. Irrigation channels lie quiet, their purpose paused until morning returns. The temple area is fully silent again. No lamps, no ritual movement, only still stone and open darkness resting together in place. The sky continues its long night cycle. Stars remain steady. The moonlight, if present, is soft and distant, spreading gently over parts of the land without sharp edges. Everything it touches becomes even quieter, even softer. Inside the village, sleep deepens. Breathing slows further. Thoughts dissolve into rest. The entire place feels unified in stillness, as if every home is part of the same quiet rhythm. No one is fully awake now. Only sleep remains. The river continues its endless movement, carrying the night forward without sound. The wind passes once more through the reeds, then disappears again, and the world remains in this deep, unbroken calm. And so the night continues over ancient Egypt, steady and endless, where the river flows quietly through darkness, and the village sleeps without disturbance beneath the stars.
The night is now very deep, so deep that even the idea of hours feels distant. Nothing in the sky changes anymore in any noticeable way. The stars remain in their soft arrangement, quietly holding their places without urgency. The world below them feels even more still than before. The village is fully asleep now, not just mostly asleep, not just resting, but completely settled into deep, uninterrupted sleep. No fires are actively burning anymore. Only faint embers remain in a few homes, and even those are nearly gone, reduced to quiet warmth that no longer gives light. Inside each home, bodies rest in simple positions, some lying on mats, some leaning against walls, some curled slightly under light coverings. All of them still, all of them quiet, breathing slow and even, blending into the silence of the night. Outside, the village paths are empty, not just unused, but fully absent of movement. Even the idea of activity feels far away here. The air is cooler now, not sharp, not cold in a harsh way, just gently cool, as if the land itself is resting more deeply. The Nile continues its presence beside everything. It moves with the same steady rhythm it has kept for a long time. No changes, no interruptions, just the same continuous flow through darkness. Its surface reflects only faint starlight now, broken into soft, scattered points that appear and disappear with the gentle movement of water. A man is still at the riverbank. He has not left, but now even his presence feels almost indistinguishable from the night itself. He sits in complete stillness, no shifting, no looking around, only quiet existence beside the water. It feels as if he has become part of the landscape, just like the reeds and the river and the darkened land around him. The papyrus reeds move once in a while with the wind, but even that movement is soft and minimal. They bend slightly, then return to stillness. The wind itself is rare now. It appears briefly, passes through the land, and fades again without sound. Far in the distance, the fields are completely inactive. The irrigation channels lie quiet and undisturbed. The soil rests without pressure. Everything is paused in its natural state, waiting for the return of morning that has not yet begun. The temple remains dark and silent, stone structures resting under the night sky without any motion or light. It feels timeless here,
as if nothing ever changes at this hour. The sky itself remains deep and steady. No new stars appear, no old ones disappear, only the same quiet arrangement of light above a sleeping world. Inside the village, sleep continues without interruption. There is no restlessness, no waking, only deep, stable calm. The older man by the river remains still, his silhouette faint against the dark water. He does not move, he does not speak, he simply remains present in the quiet, as if there is nowhere else he needs to be. The river flows beside him, unchanged. The night continues without effort, and everything rests in the same soft stillness. And so, the deepest part of the night holds ancient Egypt in complete quiet, where even time feels slow and distant, and the world rests gently beneath an endless sky of steady stars.
The night is now at its most complete stillness. There is no sense of beginning or ending here, only continuation, only quiet presence stretching through everything at once. The sky remains dark and full of steady stars, unchanged in their positions, as if they are holding the same thought for a very long time without interruption. The village below is deeply asleep, not lightly, not halfway, but in full, settled rest. Every home is quiet now. Every body inside them is still. Breathing continues, but gently, slowly, almost blending into the air itself. There are no fires anymore. Only the faint memory of warmth remains in the stones and walls of the homes, as if the day's heat has slowly sunk into them and stayed. Outside, the paths between houses are completely empty, no movement, no shadows passing through, only still ground under still air. The river continues its endless flow beside the village. The Nile does not change for the night. It does not pause. It does not rush. It simply moves forward in a steady rhythm that feels older than the village itself. Its surface reflects the sky in broken fragments of starlight, soft and scattered, like tiny points of light resting on dark water. The man by the river is still there. He has not moved in a long time. He sits in complete stillness, facing the water. His presence feels faint now, almost merging with the night around him, not separate, just part of the same quiet world. The reeds near him shift once in the wind, then return to stillness again. The wind itself is very light now. It does not travel far. It appears briefly, touches the river's edge, moves through the reeds, and disappears without sound. The fields remain empty and silent, no workers, no tools, no movement, only the shape of the land resting under darkness. The irrigation channels lie undisturbed, carrying no activity, only the quiet memory of water that once moved through them during the day. The temple stands in complete stillness, stone structures under the night sky, unchanged and unmoving. No light comes from within, no sound leaves it. It feels as if even time is resting here. The sky above remains steady. The stars continue their quiet presence. No shifts, no change, just the same calm pattern stretching endlessly overhead. Inside the village, sleep is now very deep, deeper than earlier in the night. Breathing is slow and even across every home. The entire place feels unified in rest, as if all life has gently synchronized into one quiet rhythm. There is no tension anywhere, no alertness, only sleep. The river continues its flow.
The night remains unchanged, and the world rests in complete stillness beneath the stars. And so ancient Egypt remains in the deepest part of night, where everything is quiet, steady, and unchanged, and the world sleeps softly beside the endless river under a calm sky.
The night remains deep, but something subtle begins to exist within it. Not a change you can clearly see, not a shift you can clearly name, just a quiet sense that time is moving forward, very slowly, almost imperceptibly. The sky is still dark, the stars are still steady, but the darkness itself feels slightly different now, softer at the edges, less absolute than before. The village remains asleep. Every home is still. Every person inside is still in deep rest. Breathing continues in slow, natural rhythm. No one wakes, no one stirs. Only sleep continues its quiet work through the night. The embers that once held faint light are now fully gone. No glow remains in the homes, only darkness inside, shaped gently by the forms of sleeping bodies in simple rooms. Outside, the village paths are unchanged, still empty, still quiet. The ground holds the memory of footsteps from earlier in the day, but nothing new is added now. The Nile continues to move beside everything, always the same motion, always forward. Its sound is not heard directly, but it is felt in presence, like something constant existing just beyond awareness. The water reflects the sky in a very faint way now. Starlight appears as soft, broken patterns that shift gently with the surface movement. Nothing bright, nothing sharp, only quiet reflection. The man at the riverbank is still there, still seated, still unmoving, but now the sense of separation between him and the surroundings feels even smaller, as if the night has slowly absorbed his presence into itself. He does not react to anything. He simply remains, like a part of the river that is not water, but still belongs to it. The reeds near him move once again in a very light breeze, a slow bend, a soft return, then stillness. The wind does not linger. It never stays long at this hour. It only passes through, like a thought that disappears before it fully forms. In the fields, everything remains at rest. The soil is dark and undisturbed. The irrigation channels are still. No sound, no motion, only quiet land stretching outward into the distance. The temple area remains unchanged, stone resting under night sky. No activity, no presence of movement, only structure and silence together. The sky itself continues its long, steady state. Stars remain constant. The darkness begins to feel slightly thinner in a way that is not visible, only sensed, as if the world is slowly preparing for something far away, though nothing has begun yet. Inside the village, sleep continues, deeper now than earlier, more settled, more complete. Every breath inside every home follows the same calm rhythm. The village feels unified in rest, as if it has become one single sleeping presence beneath the night sky. No disruption exists anywhere, only stillness, only continuation. The river flows on beside the land, unchanged. The night continues its slow passage, and everything remains quiet, very quietly, waiting without awareness. And so the night begins its soft transition toward something not yet visible, where ancient Egypt sleeps deeply, and even darkness starts to feel like it is gently loosening its hold. The night is still here. Nothing has truly changed. The sky remains dark, and the stars remain in their quiet positions, steady and unchanged, like distant lights that never grow tired. But there is a softness now,
a very subtle shift in feeling, not in brightness, not in movement, only in atmosphere. The kind of change that cannot be pointed to directly, but can only be noticed by how everything feels slightly more gentle than before. The village is still asleep, deeply, completely. Every home holds silence inside it, and every person continues their slow, steady breathing in rest. There is no movement anywhere in the village now. No sound rises, no fire burns. Only the memory of the day remains in the stillness of objects left in place. Outside, the paths are unchanged, dark ground beneath a dark sky, everything resting exactly where it was left. The Nile continues its quiet flow beside the village. It does not shift its rhythm for the night. It does not hurry toward anything. It simply moves forward in the same steady way it always has. Its surface carries faint reflections of the stars, broken into soft, drifting patterns that appear and fade with the gentle movement of water. The man by the river remains seated, still there, still unmoving. His presence now feels almost indistinguishable from the darkness around him, as if he is no longer separate from the night, but simply another quiet part of it. He does not look up. He does not shift his posture. Only stillness remains. The reeds nearby move faintly once more in the breeze, a small, slow bend, then stillness again. The wind is very light now. It passes through the riverbank area gently, then disappears into the wider darkness without leaving any trace. The fields remain unchanged, no movement, no activity, only resting land under a resting sky. The irrigation channels are still, their purpose paused until morning returns. The temple stands silent in the distance, stone forms under the night sky, unchanged and unmoving. No light comes from within, no sound leaves it. It feels distant, like part of the landscape itself rather than a place of activity. Above everything, the sky remains dark and wide. The stars continue their steady presence, unchanged in position, unchanged in brightness. But the darkness between them feels slightly less heavy than before. Not in a visible way, just softer in presence. Inside the village, sleep remains deep and uninterrupted. Breathing continues slowly and evenly in every home. No one wakes, no one moves. The entire village exists in a shared state of quiet rest. It feels as though the land, the river, and the people are all part of the same long, continuous pause. Everything steady, everything calm, everything still. The Nile flows on without change. The night continues its slow passage, and the world remains gently suspended in quiet darkness beneath the stars. And so, ancient Egypt rests in the soft middle of deep night, where nothing moves, nothing changes, and everything quietly continues in peaceful stillness beside the river.
The night is still here, but it no longer feels as absolute as before. It is the same darkness, the same sky, the same steady stars. And yet, something subtle has shifted in how everything feels, as if the world is no longer only resting, but slowly becoming aware that rest will eventually continue into something else. Not yet morning, not yet light, only the quiet space before anything begins. The village remains fully asleep. Every home is still. Every person remains in deep rest. Breathing continues in slow, natural rhythm, steady and uninterrupted. There is no movement anywhere in the village. No sound rises. No light returns. Only stillness remains, layered over everything like a soft, familiar covering. Outside,
The paths between homes are unchanged, dark earth beneath a dark sky. No footsteps, no activity, only the quiet shape of the village resting in place. The Nile continues its steady flow beside the land. It does not change its rhythm. It does not respond to time. It simply moves forward in a way that feels endless and unbothered. Its surface carries faint reflections of the night sky, broken and gentle, shifting slowly with the movement of water. The man by the riverbank is still there. He has not moved, not noticeably. His presence feels even quieter now than before, almost absorbed into the surrounding stillness. He sits facing the river, unchanged in posture. There is no urgency in him, no expectation, only quiet existence beside the water. The reeds nearby move once more in a very soft breeze, a slight bend, a slow return, then stillness again. The wind is rare now. It passes gently through the river's edge, touches the reeds, and disappears without sound or direction. The fields remain completely at rest. No activity, no motion, only soil and silence stretching outward. The irrigation channels remain still, holding no movement of water that can be seen or felt. The temple stands in the distance, unchanged, stone resting under the night sky. No lights, no sounds, no presence of movement. It feels like a part of the earth itself rather than a separate place. Above, the sky remains wide and dark. The stars are still steady, still unmoving, but there is now a faint sense of openness in the darkness between them, a softness that was not as noticeable earlier in the night. Inside the village, sleep continues without interruption. Breathing remains slow and even across every home. No one stirs, no one wakes. The entire village rests in a unified stillness, as if it has become one quiet body under the night sky. Everything is calm, everything is steady, everything is still. The river continues its endless flow, the night continues its slow passage, and the world remains suspended in deep, peaceful darkness, waiting without knowing it is waiting. And so ancient Egypt rests in the gentle midpoint between night and what will eventually become morning, where everything is quiet, everything is still, and the river continues softly through the darkness beneath a steady sky.
The night is still here, but it feels different now. Not because it has ended, not because anything has changed in a clear way, but because it has quietly reached its deepest calm and decided, without announcement, to remain soft for a little while longer before morning ever arrives. The sky is still dark, the stars are still present, but everything feels steady in a way that no longer asks for attention. Just quiet existence, just space, just time passing without effort. The village sleeps completely now. There is no movement anywhere, no sound, no light, only the soft, continuous rhythm of sleep inside every home. Every breath is slow, every body is still. Every moment blends into the next without separation. It feels as if the entire village has become part of the land itself, resting the same way the earth rests beneath it. Outside, the paths remain empty. The ground is still. No footsteps have been added for a long time. Everything is exactly where it was left, as if the world decided not to disturb itself anymore. The Nile continues its quiet journey beside the village. It does not change, it does not pause. It simply flows forward in a steady, endless line through the darkness. Its surface carries faint reflections of the night sky, broken, soft, and calm, moving gently with the water. The man by the riverbank is still there, still seated, still unmoving, but now even that presence feels less like a person and more like part of the night itself, as if he has slowly become something the river simply carries beside it without distinction. The reeds shift once in the faintest breeze, then settle again. The wind does not stay. It never stays long here. It only passes through gently and disappears. The fields remain at rest. The irrigation channels remain still. The temple stands silent in the distance, stone under sky, unchanged and patient. Above it all, the sky holds steady. The stars remain where they are. The darkness remains wide and soft, and everything feels balanced in a quiet, endless pause. Not frozen, not ending, just resting. And slowly, without any clear moment of change, the feeling of night begins to soften, not into brightness, not yet into morning, but into something lighter, something that feels like continuation rather than ending. The world does not wake, it simply remains calm. The river continues, the village sleeps. The night holds everything gently and then lets it be. And so ancient Egypt rests, under a quiet sky, beside a steady river, in a world that does not rush, does not demand, and does not disturb itself. Only time continues softly forward, and everything else simply sleeps. And it stays like that, quiet, still, endless.